was at the heart of President William Ruto's government. That is Sports CS, Abamina was speaking to Saudi TV yesterday, and this is what he said. The government should shelve the appointment of CISs and instead absorb the 4,000 unemployed doctors and post them in the counties to provide healthcare services to the hustlers. He's saying the cost of keeping a CIS is more than 2.5 million shillings per month. And this is what he said. When you consider salary, you consider allowances, you consider office staff, security, etc. Now he said that this is enough to employ 10 doctors at a salary of 250,000 per month. So if you have 10 to 1, then that means, in his calculation, out of the 20, you would have almost 4,000 doctors in an office. Yeah? If you factor in the allowance and all that, and you give them 250,000 shillings per month, then they will be right there, comfortably employed and plugging in the deficit in the healthcare services in the country. Somebody's saying, you're going to cut a loan figure. Wezi ongea kitu bosi wako hataki bwana. Bosi wako amesema anapatiana watu shares. And you're here saying, do not do that. Anyway, guys, welcome back. This is the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Kiage. In case you're just joining us, Keitany is also just joining us just right now, so we can look at the newspaper review together. Keitany, good morning, sir.
Very good morning to you, Simba, and of course to our viewers. It's interesting that the cost of housing one particular chief administrative secretary,
yes,
equals to employing the 4,000 doctors. And by the way, it's not only doctors,
yeah,
because there are areas or sectors that we need to prioritize. Apart from health, more teachers, should also be employed, just to, cushion the shortage of teachers across the schools in the country, especially now that we've rolled out the grade 7, the competence-based curriculum, system, and of course, grade 7 students are now in school. People are complaining about the shortage of teachers. So this is a debate, and specifically, I don't know if maybe to you, what is the job description of a chief administrative secretary?
Nothing, boy. What is? How does? Okay, Keitany. Even when the PSC is going to interview these applicants, now we do have the 224 of them.
Yes.
What particular questions are they going to ask them? Because, Keitany, look here, we have a CS. On top of that, we have a PS, who was also employed by the Public Service Commission.
Yes.
So, what other responsibility is left for the CAS to play in that ministry? This is, Keitany, this is why I told you, let's just look back just a little bit. And by that, I'll point you out to some of the things that we as the media are not calling out the president for. The president came in office and said, wow, we're going to cut down on expenditure, 300 billion worth. But like Keitany, if you look at the budget that is drafted, it's actually slightly higher than the same budget that we're complaining about in the last government that they were in. Good, put that aside. I will tell you again, if you look at the budget for his office and the DP, but then let me point you out to this. Now, Treasury, and I will tell you, Njuguna Ndung'u, has already accepted the proposal to raise the budget for the president's office from 8 billion to 13 billion shillings. Now, that is almost double what they got. Now, let me surprise you. At a time, Keitany, when we're talking about cut down on expenditure, please do not waste money on unnecessary expenditure. The president and the DP, over the past 7 months, guess how much they've spent? 8 billion, to be exact. Two gentlemen who've spent 8 billion. Keitany.
Talking of money spent,
yeah.
Reports indicate, by the way, we all know that the next national holidays will be held in Embu County, and the Embu Stadium is set to be renovated for the celebrations at a cost of 300 million Kenya shillings.
Yes.
And as we wrap up this CS debate, yesterday, one Keitany, the MP, I think Dagoretti South, said, the positions, even if these positions were to be there, the CS positions, it was specifically set aside for young politicians, grooming the next or the future leaders, not allocated for, people, poll losers, for example, or maybe, people who've been in the political arena for the longest time.
Yeah.
Because this is a position that maybe, we have so many young leaders. If you look at the previous government, by the way, and most of the guys who are there, I'd say most of them were new. There were no guys who are in the political arena, with the exception of a few, including Ambabu and Mwamba. But if you look at the others, these are guys who are picked from just different sectors, who are not engaged in politics. The likes of David Usiani, Zach Kinuthia, many of them.
Yeah.
And as it stands now, among those who've been shortlisted, most of them are veteran politicians, and we all know that most of those who will land these positions are, veteran politicians. And just to, take you through it, I was looking at the newspaper here. They've, now distributed according to the number of counties that, got the highest number of people who were shortlisted. And you were talking about shares yesterday from different regions, and just give you that for now. As I look for that particular story, on the Standard, on the front page, because the story of the CSS is, and in between, just before I go to the particular page, on the front page of the Standard, we do have, now, we all know the D2 attack that happened in 2019, I believe. The secrets of the D2 terror raid. Now, it is reported, Simba, that the leader of that particular gang or the group that attacked the D2 complex, and of course we know that Al-Shabaab took credit for that particular attack, that is Ali Salim Gishungi, received a total of 806,900 shillings to his M-Pesa prior to the attack, and they used Simba 177 different SIM cards. That tells you how meticulous they were in planning this particular attack. Yeah. And then years later, Ali Salim Gishungi, some of them escaped, by the way, Simba. And just to give you a preview, for example, someone like the leader, Ali Salim Gishungi, was born in the Nakuru barracks. His dad was a KDF soldier, and of course, the Standard says is stationed at the Directorate of Defense, that is the DOD, and he hails from Isiolo County. Of course, husband to Violet Kemunto. As well, the other known Kenyan is Osman Ibrahim Gedi, was born in Mandera. Now, one of them, Siat Omar Abdi, of the four, was a refugee at Dagahale refugee camp, and of course was registered at the age of 8 in 2000. The other one, Mahir Halid Riziki, was also born in 1993, and of course, not born in Kenya. But of the four, 2 of them were born here in Kenya. And I'd really want to, pick your mind on this, Simba. Do you think, I believe that was the last Al-Shabaab attack here in the country. Do you believe we've made steps in ensuring that we are able to tackle matters, terrorist attacks in the country?
I do not think so, Keitany. I mean, it's a losing battle. And if you look at the analysis of these details are now coming years after the attack, Keitany. And not even coming from official sources, Keitany. You can see that. Just the independent sources will go around and then get this data now for us to come and talk about. I'll tell you, it doesn't settle well with any other person watching it really. And if look around, even when we come to banditry, something that is inborn, you can actually even say it's Kenyans on Kenyans. We've not been able to manage it for that long. So Anasema security starts with you, Bona, ends there. And when you read that story, and it's covered on which pages on the Standard?
Covered on page 8 of the Standard, you'll get the details to how everything was planned, Simba, and how they were all dealt with. How the security agencies here in the country, the security organs, are still following up on the case, because we know some of them are still at large. Yeah.
So that's exactly, it shows you that, man.
But away from that, like we were saying, because on the front page as well, it says heartbreak that awaits the CAS hopefuls. And I was giving you the numbers on page 4 of the Standard. It talks about, they've classified. And according to former provinces, from the coast region, a total of 27 of them were shortlisted. Of course, 6 from Mombasa, 5 from Kwale, Kilifi had 4, Tana River, Lamu, and Taita Taveta, all 4. Northeastern got 17. The Eastern region got 35 shortlisted candidates. Central Kenya got 28. The Rift Valley region got 67. Western region got 13. Nyanza got 29. Nairobi got 5. And of course, those who are not indicated from which particular county they were from are 3. That makes 224. Now, we do know that, of course, the Rift Valley region has the highest number, but of course this is because of the number of counties that that particular region hosts. Some of the counties that did not get any shortlisted candidate include Makueni and of course Nyandarua, without forgetting Busia County. Those are just 3 counties that did not get shortlisted candidates to the slot of, beg your pardon, actually it's Makueni and Busia counties that did not get any candidates who were shortlisted. But like the standard says, heartbreak awaits a huge number of them, because out of the 224, only 20 will be, vetted and approved for the CS positions, and the other 204 will be left heartbroken. But again, on the front page, the agony of head teachers rejected at new schools. Now we know after the results were released, sometimes reshuffles are done, and head teachers are transferred to different schools. And the standard says several head teachers and principals in parts of Nyanza, and by the way, we've had like 4 or 5 different schools and parents from those schools rejecting the new heads of, the principals. It says who were transferred to new institutions are on the edge after they were rejected by a section of parents and school boards. That is a story that you'll find on page 12 of your Standard today. Yeah. Now, just before you cross over to the Daily Nation today, on the back page, it's all about matters football and the Champions League. We know the Champions League resumed yesterday. That is a story that we will talk about as we wrap up this particular newspaper review. But today, Manchester City will be playing against Red Bull Leipzig, the German outfit, at exactly 11 p.m. The game will be played in Germany. And yesterday, as I was wrapping up the show, and Simba, you remember clearly, I highlighted the fact that David did not look that happy. That is David, our camera person, and we all know why. They were humbled 5-2 by Real Madrid yesterday. Now I do understand. As expected, isn't it? But I mean, high five in the first leg. That shows how poor that club is. How they're playing. There seems to be a lack of general confidence in Liverpool's game right now. I would tell you that. There's a lack of confidence, because they started the game well. In the first half, other than the mistake from Alisson that sort of changed the trajectory of the game, they started the game so well. And you would look at it and then say, this is Liverpool. They're back at it. Because if Gakpo was firing, Salah was firing, you would take a lead out of the game. He had a couple of chances that he would have actually scored, but he didn't score. But that happens in a game. You'd expect that it happens like that. But now, what happened in the second half? I will tell you that. You're supposed to defend, you're not defending. You look at the deflections that came through, it will show you there's some disarray within Liverpool right now. It's quite unfortunate. I will tell you, there's a lack of confidence in that team, where if something, you say, Keitany, it's like, let me just give this example before we jump into the Daily Nation. It's like Arsenal. I will tell you again, when things don't go good for you, all of a sudden we lost to Everton, we drew Brentford, we lost to Man City, then you will say, whoa, I mean, is it back at it again? You see, for Liverpool, they started firing, and you will say, well, they're now back at it again, because this weekend they were firing as well. So, but they're back at it again. So when they scored those 2 quick goals, that's when they went to the former Liverpool. They panicked. It was like, oh, it's all over this. It's all over like it normally happens again. And the entire game just looked like that. There was no way for them back. Simba, it's done. It's done. I know the viewer is confused a bit, but bear with us, because Simba is talking about Champions League football, and then the point of reference is Arsenal, a team that hasn't played in the Champions League for 8 years. So
we are talking about Liverpool.
Bear with us. Just bear with us.
We're talking about Liverpool. Let's talk about that now. All right, can we look at the Daily Nation this morning?
Yes, we can.
there's another story again that touches on IEBC, because the big one is on the storm over constituency boundaries. Let me read for you the kicker. Review of borders has stalled because of a dysfunctional electoral commission, and a dispute over a sacred crucial document of supremacy wars between rival political formations. And I will tell you why. There's if you go to page 4, and I will tell you why this is very important as well. If you go to page 4 of the Daily Nation, just so you can actually get to look deeper into that story, this is what they're saying. Article 89 of the Constitution provides for periodic review of the names and boundaries of constituencies at intervals of not less than 8 years and not more than 12 years. But there's a caveat that any review shall be completed by at least 12 months before a general election by the members of the parliament. IEBC ruled out of the practicability of having new electoral units on time for last August elections. With the last review in 2012, the final deadline is March 2024. And I will tell you why. IEBC is not fully constituted. So again, it throws that review into disarray. And we know how much this matters for political parties in the country, because you will see that some constituencies are awarded more wards, some constituencies are moved away from wards. So you will see exactly why it's a big issue here. Because if you don't agree on the modalities of fully constituting IEBC, with the March 2024 deadline, it looks as if we are running against time, Keitany. And I mean, we lack it, because if you look at the picture that we've used here for that story, it is former IEBC chair, Wafula Chebukati, who's no longer now a chair for IEBC. And I will tell you, this is why now majority of political parties are looking at it. Because, by the way, elections, Keitany, are won on a ward basis. That's what forms a constituency. So if they're not reviewed in favor of your political formations in the country, for example, Keitany, we do know that if essentially the Nyanza region is awarded probably another extra ward, it means more votes are going to come from that particular area. So if they're not done in time for the 2024 March deadline, then the next general election is questionable in a sense.
And you know, by the way, talking about IEBC and, you know, all those border issues, the Azimio coalition has stated clearly that it will not take part in the reconstitution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, because they say the government is trying to, you know, bring its people together and constitute a team that will not oversee a free and fair elections come 2027. So we expect that the constitution of the IEBC will drag for a longer period, and of course, like you said, it puts a risk on all the border issues.
I'll tell you that,
and the creation of, you know, new wards, new constituencies, and all that. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Keitany. If we go back to the front page of the Daily Nation, there's a story here that has been carried, talking about cheaper food on the way as the state allows free duty imports. That's on page 7. It means that the GMO is finally coming into the country. But have you looked at the price of a 2 kg packet of unga?
Still, depends on the brand, but let me tell you, the cheapest retails at around 185.
What was the last time you bought unga?
Should be asking when was the last time I cooked, but
because there's a development. There's a development as from yesterday. There's a development from yesterday because the prices are again shooting up. You see, you see, Keitany, this is the same things I kept on telling you about, that there's some promises you can make, all right? Come in and say, this is going to happen. There's some promises that you really have to understand what is going on in that particular ministry or sector before you come in and then say, this is exactly what I'm going to do in 100 days. All right, the promise of cost of unga, that was already a broken promise, that they already went back on everything that they said. And by they, I mean the Kenya Kwanza administration, that is Rigathi Gachagua and Dr. William Ruto's government. You see what's going on now? Once then they allowed the importation of the free duty maize into the country, this is what farmers did, Keitany. Farmers sold out their maize very fast on that, because they knew if you don't sell out now, and by the way, they were even given some time to sell it. So if you don't sell now, it means when the duty-free comes in, you'll be making nothing. Now, let me tell you what happened, and this is a developing story. For you to get this duty-free, you have to get it from specific people who are actually now, Keitany, pricing it much more expensively than what the farmers in the country were selling it at. Yes, it's coming in, but, and Keitany, you can pick this story. And I actually ask you, you can actually pick this story. Give it 2 weeks. Tell me how much we're buying unga in the country.
Of course, we expect the prices to rise even further if that is the situation.
Yes, because then you've taken the power of pricing from the farmers. You've given it to a couple. Yeah? The few who are going to be given the right to distribute this free import, duty-free that's coming in. And I've got it from a very specific source. There's a friend of mine that I've interviewed here time over again. You can go back to look at business videos who's saying, I'm closing shop. Because the prices that they're selling it at is worse than we expected. And in fact, he said, brace yourselves. It's going to get worse in the next 2 weeks. You and I will check. And then probably we started asking these questions of what happened. You know, anyway,
day after day, Simba.
Yeah.
And I reiterate again, day after day,
yeah.
Mr. Njuguna Ndung'u's sentiments are proving to be correct yourselves. Day after day. Brace yourselves. That is what he said at the beginning of the year in January. Brace yourselves.
Things are tough, yeah?
Things will be tough. And day after day is being vindicated.
I'll tell you that, man.
It's getting tougher.
Anyway, Keitany, this is some of the stories by there that we're going to talk about on our trends. Some activists in the country got arrested yesterday when they went out to the street to protest over the government's reaction to drought and the cost of living.
Led by who?
Eric Omondi himself. Yeah?
Thank you, very important.
Yeah, very important, yeah. Did you come umetoka ndani? But we'll be telling you exactly what some political leaders in the country are talking about. Some of them who've been nominated to CAS position. Case in point, Millicent Omanga. She's spoken about it. We'll be talking about that once we come back later on in our broadcast. We take a tiny break, but once we come back, Muguru Kimani will be taking you to our next part of our show this morning.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses